Carl Jung warned about the danger of seeing what others can't. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. There comes a time in every seeker's life when seeing what others cannot is both a blessing and a burden. When your awareness expands beyond the surface, you begin to perceive hidden motives, unspoken emotions, and subtle energies that most overlook. Jung warned that such perception demands responsibility. It's not just about seeing deeper truths, but learning how to live with them without losing your peace. As you listen to this message, ask yourself, how do you handle what your soul sees that others don't? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's explore together how spiritual wisdom can help us turn heightened awareness into strength, compassion, and inner balance. 1. The gift of clear seeing is also a curse. Some people are born with heightened perception. They can sense the unspoken emotions, tensions, and hidden truths in others. Society calls this intuition or empathy a gift. But Carl Jung warned that this form of deep perception carries danger within it. Once you begin to see beneath illusions, you cannot unsee. The eyes of the spirit never close, and the heart that awakens can no longer return to the comfort of ignorance. This is the paradox of spiritual awakening. The more you see, the more isolated you may feel, because few can understand the depth of what you perceive. When your awareness expands, you start noticing what others overlook. The subtle shifts in energy, the falseness behind smiles, the loneliness behind laughter. Spirituality teaches that the awakened soul moves through the world like a mirror, reflecting truth without distortion. But that clarity can be unsettling to those still attached to illusion. You begin to realize that truth is not always beautiful, and that the human mind clings to lies for safety. Seeing through masks means losing the comfort of naivete, and suddenly the world feels heavier, more fragile, more real. Jung warned that such perception can lead to despair, or pride despair, because you feel the pain of humanity too deeply, and pride because you might mistake your awareness for superiority. Yet true spiritual wisdom lies in holding vision with humility, seeing darkness without becoming it, understanding without judging. To see what others can't is not a privilege to boast about, but a responsibility to carry with grace. This level of perception demands emotional discipline, the ability to witness suffering without drowning in it, to feel others' pain without absorbing it. The spiritually awake walk between worlds, the visible and the invisible, the known and the mysterious. Their senses pick up frequencies that ordinary minds filter out, and this can be overwhelming. But in every burden lies purpose. The danger Jung spoke of is not the act of seeing itself, but losing one's balance in the process. When people around you deny what you clearly perceive, you begin to doubt yourself, to wonder if you are too sensitive or too strange. Yet, in truth, your sensitivity is your compass. It allows you to navigate the emotional landscapes of others and understand the hidden architecture of human behavior. Spirituality reminds us that awakening is not about escaping the world, but perceiving it as it truly is. The moment you see beyond illusion, life demands more honesty from you in thought, in speech, in action. You can no longer lie to yourself, no longer participate in games of pretense. This is where the gift becomes sacred, when vision turns into compassion and awareness becomes service. The spiritually awake are called not to judge those who still sleep, but to illuminate their path quietly through presence and understanding. Seeing what others can't is both a burden and a blessing. It strips away false comfort, but replaces it with divine truth. Carl Jung understood that once the eyes of the soul are open, they can never close again. To see deeply is to carry light in a darkened world, to recognize patterns of energy that shape destiny, and to stand unshaken amid illusion. The danger is real, but so is the grace, because spiritual awakening is not about escaping the human condition, but transcending it with wisdom, love, and humility. 2. The first danger, isolation. When you begin to see what others can't, you step into a world that feels both liberating and isolating. The noise of small talk begins to fade, and the social masks people wear start to look paper thin. It's not pride, it's perception. You begin to sense the truth behind words, energy behind actions, and intention behind silence. This heightened awareness, while a sign of spiritual development, separates you from the collective illusion. People can feel it when your gaze sees too much. They grow uncomfortable, exposed, almost naked before your intuition. Like actors disturbed by someone who breaks the illusion of the play, they retreat from those who refuse to pretend. Carl Jung warned of this danger, the loneliness of consciousness, the invisible wall that forms when one awakens to what others deny. You start to move through life as an observer rather than a participant, nodding through hollow conversations, laughing without feeling, and playing roles to maintain a fragile sense of belonging. But deep within, your spirit resists. You crave depth, truth, presence. You no longer wish to talk about the weather. You want to speak about the soul. Spirituality strips away your appetite for distraction. It teaches you to see the emptiness in noise and the power in stillness. Isolation begins to feel less like exile and more like sacred preparation. In the silence, your senses sharpen. You feel the vibration of energy in spaces, the emotional signatures of people, the silent messages in the air. The world grows transparent, and while others see only appearances, you perceive the invisible web of consciousness beneath it all. In this solitude, you learn self-sufficiency. You begin to draw nourishment from peace rather than attention, from prayer rather than approval. The loneliness turns into lightness. You discover that your worth no longer depends on being understood, but on being aligned. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that becoming requires detaching from illusions that masquerade as love or belonging. Many will not follow you into that depth. They will stay where their masks keep them safe. But your task is not to pull them with you. It is to honor their journey while continuing your own. The danger of seeing what others can't is not the solitude itself, but the misunderstanding that comes with it. You may be labeled distant, strange, or detached, but in truth, you are simply resonating at a different frequency. You see the hidden pain behind people's smiles, the fear behind their laughter, the truth behind their excuses, and it hurts because you care. But spirituality refines that pain into compassion. You stop judging blindness and start holding it gently, knowing that everyone awakens when they are ready. Isolation, then, becomes a teacher rather than a curse, a crucible through which your awareness matures. The lesson is clear. As your inner vision expands, your external world narrows. Yet this contraction is divine. It is life sculpting you into clarity. The fewer people who understand you, the closer you are to understanding yourself. And in that sacred silence, you realize that seeing what others can't was never meant to isolate you. It was meant to return you home to your own soul. 3. The second danger: self-doubt and inner split. When you begin to perceive uncomfortable truths that others cannot see, you stand at a fragile crossroads between expression and silence. If you choose to speak, you risk being misunderstood, rejected, or even ridiculed by those who are still asleep within their illusions. But if you remain silent, you slowly disconnect from your own truth, betraying the very light that awakened you in the first place. This is the silent battle Carl Jung described: the inner split that occurs when awareness and conformity collide. One part of you knows what is real, while another part is forced to pretend it doesn't, creating an invisible wound that quietly drains your soul. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When you see beyond the veil of illusions, it is impossible to return to blindness without paying a heavy psychological cost. You begin to live between two worlds, one of truth and one of pretense, and this tension can make you doubt your own sanity. You ask yourself why you perceive what others cannot, why the world resists the very insight that feels so liberating to you. Yet this confusion is not madness. It is the necessary friction of transformation. It is the soul's growing pain as it expands beyond collective limitation. Spiritual wisdom teaches that every awakening comes with an inner test. The moment you see deeply, you must decide whether you will remain faithful to what you know or conform to what the world demands. Doubt will whisper that your vision is wrong, that you are imagining things, that silence is safer. But suppression breeds suffering. It divides your being into fragments, one half carrying truth, the other acting out false peace. And this inner division can become heavier than any external rejection. To heal it, you must learn to stand in integrity, to let your insight breathe even when it is met with disbelief. Carl Jung believed that spiritual awakening was not about escaping the world, but reconciling its opposites within yourself. You must learn to see without arrogance, to know without judgment, to speak truth without resentment. The goal is not to convince others, but to remain whole in your understanding. The spiritually awake are not meant to be loud prophets. They are meant to be steady lights, silent, clear, and unwavering in their truth. So when the pressure of self-doubt builds, remember that your inner conflict is proof of your growth. You are not broken. You are becoming aligned. The world may not yet see what you see, but your clarity has purpose. Every moment you choose truth over comfort, you heal the split within, and that is where real spiritual awakening begins. If this message has opened your eyes to a deeper truth within, take a moment to ground your energy. Comment below. I trust my inner wisdom to affirm your faith in yourself and your spiritual awakening. 4. The third danger: becoming the target. People who resist the truth often turn their discomfort into weapons against the one who dares to see. When you awaken spiritually, your perception becomes too sharp for the comfort of those still asleep. They will call you too sensitive, negative, or paranoid, not because you are, but because your clarity threatens their illusion. Carl Jung described this reaction as shooting the messenger. the mind's instinct to destroy what exposes its shadow. You, the awakened observer, become the target not because of wrongdoing, but because awareness itself is unsettling to those who live in denial. The world prefers its illusions neat and unchallenged, and when someone walks in with light, the first impulse is to shut their eyes and blame the light bringer. It is easier for them to brand you as strange than to face their own hidden pain. Spiritual awakening is not a gentle dream. It's an earthquake of consciousness. It shakes the false foundations on which people have built their comfort. The moment you begin to see beyond appearances, you begin to disturb the energy of those around you. Your vibration no longer matches theirs, and this difference feels like a threat. They sense your authenticity, your piercing calm, and unconsciously, their ego panics. It wants to silence the reminder that truth exists beyond masks. Jung understood that every person carries a shadow, the unseen parts of the psyche that prefer darkness. When your awareness shines too brightly, you reveal what others spend their lives trying to hide. Their defensiveness, mockery, or withdrawal are simply shields against that light. You are not being punished for seeing you are paying the natural price of vision. When others accuse you of being too deep, too intense, or too serious, recognize it as a sign that your presence is working. You are forcing reflection. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When your insight provokes resistance, it's not rejection, it's recognition. You've become a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable when they've forgotten what they look like. Spirituality often feels lonely because truth isolates before it liberates. You start seeing through facades, feeling energy where others only see form, and noticing motives hidden beneath words. Suddenly, noise becomes unbearable. Small talk becomes hollow, and you long for silence not as escape, but as nourishment. This isolation, however, is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being refined, not rejected. Spiritual awakening demands emotional resilience and self-trust. You must learn to hold the truth gently, without using it to judge or separate. Remember, your role is not to force others to see, but to embody clarity until they choose sight. Let solitude teach you serenity. Let rejection strengthen your discernment. As Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Hold to that privilege fiercely. Even when misunderstood, your awareness is sacred. It is the evidence of your evolution, the sign that your consciousness has stepped beyond illusion. You may become the target, but in truth, you are the torch illuminating what others fear to face, yet need to see to awaken. If this message has awakened something within you, leave a comment of truth. I see what others can't, yet I choose peace over fear. I trust in my spiritual wisdom. 5. The fourth danger: emotional overload and loss of self. When you step into the path of spirituality and begin to awaken, one of the most dangerous yet invisible traps is emotional overload and the slow, painful loss of your true self. The deeper your spiritual development becomes, the more your empathy expands. And suddenly, you start to feel the pain, fear, and confusion of others as if they were your own. Their sadness creeps into your heart. Their anger burns through your peace, and their anxiety clouds your mind. This constant absorption blurs your inner boundaries until you no longer know which emotions belong to you and which belong to the world around you. You wake up exhausted, restless, and unsure why. This is the heavy cost of awakening without protection, when your compassion turns into a magnet for other people's unresolved energies. Carl Jung once warned that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When you allow too many energies to react with yours, you slowly dissolve into the emotions of others. To truly walk the path of spiritual wisdom, you must understand that being aware does not mean being available to everything. When your energy field is too open, you absorb every vibration around you, and your natural light becomes dim under the weight of collective emotion. Many spiritually awakened souls mistake sensitivity for compassion, but they are not the same. Compassion allows you to feel with others while staying anchored in your own center. Sensitivity without boundaries, however, is like standing in the rain with no shelter. You drown instead of cleanse. Spiritual development requires not only the expansion of consciousness, but also the mastery of energy. The higher you rise, the stronger your foundation must be. Without emotional discipline, awareness becomes a burden, and enlightenment feels more like a curse than a blessing. You must learn the sacred balance between empathy and detachment. Empathy lets you understand the suffering of others, but detachment allows you to remain a mirror reflecting truth without absorbing chaos. Remember, you are not meant to carry everyone's darkness inside your soul. Your purpose is to transform your own, so your light can illuminate the path for others. True spirituality is not about absorbing pain. It is about transmuting it. To do that, you need boundaries strong, energetic walls that protect your essence while allowing love to flow freely. Boundaries do not make you cold. They make your warmth sustainable. You cannot heal the world by letting it bleed into you. So, ground yourself daily. Spend time alone in silence or nature to cleanse your field and listen to your own energy again. Breathe deeply and imagine a radiant light surrounding you, your divine armor, filtering out what doesn't belong to your soul. Take care of your emotional hygiene as you would your body. Release what feels heavy, detach from what drains you, and return to your own vibration. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Awareness must be matched with mastery. The lesson here is profound spirituality is not about becoming everything, but about remembering who you are amidst everything. You can love deeply without losing yourself, sense energy without absorbing it, and see what others can't without being consumed by it. That is the true art of spiritual development. To feel the universe, yet remain whole within yourself. 6. The true danger lies not in seeing, but in fixing. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reminds us that the true danger does not lie in seeing what others can't, but in the urge to fix everything we see. When your spiritual awakening sharpens your vision, you begin to notice the hidden wounds, the unconscious motives, and the subtle patterns that govern human behavior. Yet, the moment you try to heal, correct, or save everyone around you, you fall into the very trap that Jung warned against, the illusion of control disguised as compassion. Awareness is a gift, but it is not a responsibility. To awaken is to witness, not to interfere. Like muddy water that becomes clear when left undisturbed, people and situations often find their own balance without your hand stirring the depths. The more you try to force clarity, the more you create chaos. True spiritual wisdom teaches that energy flows where attention goes. And when your attention is constantly on fixing others, you drain your own light instead of expanding it. You may feel called to heal others because you recognize their pain, but healing imposed from ego creates dependency, not transformation. Jung understood that every soul must confront its own darkness in order to awaken. You can offer light, but you cannot carry someone through their night. The privilege of a lifetime, he said, is to become who you truly are. That journey is deeply personal. No one can walk it for another. When you accept this truth, your compassion becomes freer, purer, and less attached to outcomes. You start to see that every person's suffering has divine timing, and your role is not to fix, but to hold sacred space while they discover their own wisdom. The danger of seeing what others can't is that you may mistake your insight for obligation. But spiritual awakening is not about rescuing. It's about remembering that light needs darkness to reveal its brilliance. That pain can be a sacred teacher, and that letting go is sometimes the highest form of love. When you stop trying to control life's unfolding, you realize that stillness is not inaction. It is trust. Like the calm observer watching the water clear on its own, you allow energy to settle into harmony. This is the balance Carl Jung spoke of, to see deeply without losing yourself in what you see. The moment you release the need to fix, you finally embody the wisdom that everything heals in its own time, and that your purpose is not to stir the mud, but to reflect the light. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on learning to see clearly without trying to fix what was never yours to heal. 7. The path to mastery, conscious detachment. True spiritual maturity lies in the art of conscious detachment, the ability to see life with piercing clarity without being consumed by it. Carl Jung, a master of depth psychology, warned that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In the journey of spirituality and spiritual awakening, this truth becomes your compass. It reminds you that awareness is not about control. It is about harmony with what is. You begin to see that the moment you release the need to manipulate outcomes, you open yourself to divine flow. You perceive the suffering of others not as something to fix, but as a sacred process unfolding according to its own rhythm. This awareness transforms your vision into compassion. It becomes a gift of freedom instead of a weapon of judgment. As you awaken, you learn that detachment is not emotional distance, but spiritual intimacy. It is loving without ownership, guiding without interference, and witnessing without ego. It is the space where understanding replaces judgment and patience replaces control. Jung understood the danger of seeing too deeply without grounding, how insight without surrender can become a burden. Those who awaken too quickly may feel the weight of others' pain as their own, mistaking awareness for responsibility. But true spiritual wisdom teaches that you are not meant to carry another's cross. Each soul must rise by its own strength. When you stop trying to save everyone, you begin to embody divine compassion, the kind that liberates rather than entangles. You realize that every person's suffering is a lesson shaped by divine design, and by allowing them to walk their own path, you honor their growth and your own peace. This is the silent mastery of the awakened soul: to hold awareness lightly, to know deeply but act gently, to see chaos and still remain still within. You understand that the world does not need more saviors. It needs more witnesses of light, those who can observe the darkness without fearing it. You see now that people project from their level of consciousness, and your role is not to convince, but to reflect truth. You stop explaining yourself to those who cannot hear beyond their wounds, because you know that clarity speaks loudest in silence. And you stop rushing others to awaken, because real light blinds those not yet ready to see. Spiritual awakening strips away your illusion of control until only presence remains. The calm acceptance that life, in all its imperfection, is perfectly timed. The path to mastery, then, is a serene walk between knowing and letting go. It is the sacred practice of seeing the hidden layers of existence without collapsing into them, of recognizing the divine hand in both pain and peace. Conscious detachment does not make you cold. It makes you clear. It does not numb your heart. It refines it. Through this state, your awareness becomes luminous and unbound, a steady flame that illuminates without burning. You become a vessel through which divine wisdom flows, seeing not with judgment, but with love, not with fear, but with faith. In this way, your sight becomes a blessing, your stillness a sanctuary, and your presence a living testimony to the highest form of spiritual wisdom. 8. The importance of boundaries and solitude. To maintain true clarity in spirituality and spiritual development, solitude is not a luxury, it is a necessity. You must retreat into silence, not to escape the world, but to hear the voice within that the world constantly drowns out. When you are alone, you can finally separate what you feel from what others have placed upon you. You begin to sense which emotions truly belong to your soul and which are borrowed from the energy of those around you. In solitude, your spiritual boundaries are restored, like a garden protected once again by its walls. Without this sacred space, your energy becomes scattered, and you start mistaking the emotions of others for your own, losing yourself in the noise of collective confusion. Carljung understood this deeply when he said, "Solitude is for me a fount of healing, which makes my life worth living." In solitude, you meet yourself again raw, unfiltered, and real. You realize that peace does not come from fixing what is outside of you, but from clearing what is within. Every moment spent alone strengthens your energetic field. Every breath of silence refines your inner voice. But Jung also warned of the danger of seeing too much without grounding, of having such sharp vision that it cuts into your own soul. That is why solitude must not become isolation. It must be practiced as sacred restoration, a balance between the clarity of awareness and the warmth of human experience. When you set boundaries, you protect your soul's equilibrium. You teach others how to treat your energy, and you remind yourself that your inner world deserves respect. Boundaries are not walls that separate you from life. They are doors that open only to peace, love, and understanding. Solitude strengthens those doors. It teaches you when to open them and when to keep them closed. The more you honor your time alone, the more you understand that stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness, overflowing with truth. Through solitude, you see without judgment, listen without noise, and live without distortion. You stop reacting and start perceiving. You no longer carry the burdens of others as your own, because you've learned to return every emotion to its rightful owner. This is the essence of spiritual maturity, the ability to see clearly without being crushed by your own clarity. It is to know deeply, feel deeply, and yet remain unshaken. In solitude, your spirit finds its rhythm again. Your heart remembers its peace, and your mind learns the beautiful discipline of silence. And in that silence, you finally realize that protecting your energy is not withdrawal. It is devotion to the light that lives within you. To honor your growth and protect your peace, declare your devotion to solitude and self-mastery. Comment below, "I protect my energy," to affirm your boundaries and remind others that true spiritual wisdom begins in silence and self-awareness. 9. The transformation from curse to light. When awareness merges with wisdom and compassion, the so-called curse of seeing what others can't turns into a blessing of light. You stop trying to force others to awaken and instead embody the quiet power of awakened presence. This is the transformation Carljung hinted at when he said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." You begin to understand that awakening is not about changing the world around you, but about holding your consciousness steady in the midst of it. When you stop trying to convince others, something miraculous happens. Your calm energy becomes the very mirror that helps them awaken on their own. Spiritual wisdom teaches that true transformation doesn't need to be loud. It is felt through presence, through how you move, speak, and breathe in truth. As this realization deepens, your purpose changes. You no longer see yourself as the savior of the sleeping world, but as the one who remains awake within it. You notice that your greatest teaching is not your words, but your energy. Instead of draining yourself, trying to rescue others from their darkness, you honor their timing. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You see now that your role is not to expose their shadows, but to illuminate your own. The more you integrate your awareness with compassion, the more peace replaces frustration, and the danger of seeing too much transforms into the grace of understanding everything's purpose. You stop seeking validation from those who cannot yet see. You no longer confuse closeness with alignment. The beauty of this path is subtle. Your presence begins to heal without effort. Your silence teaches without instruction, and your truth becomes an invisible balm for weary souls. You start to live by gentle principles: presence over performance, compassion over control, timing over urgency, and boundaries over resentment. You understand that a steady light is far more powerful than a blazing flash. Every breath becomes a quiet declaration of faith that awakening cannot be forced, only reflected. This is what Carl Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. When you embody that truth, you no longer fear being different or alone. Your awareness becomes your sanctuary, your compassion becomes your power, and your peace becomes your protection. The curse of seeing turns to light the moment you accept that your task was never to fix the world, but to live so consciously that the world begins to remember what consciousness looks like. In the end, Carl Jung reminded us that seeing what others can't is both a blessing and a burden. True spiritual wisdom lies not in convincing others of what we see, but in protecting our own vision and nurturing the light within. If today's message has spoken to your soul, remember to like this video, Share it with those walking a similar path, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next journey into the depths of the spirit and the mind. The dark psychology of high vibration souls. Even the brightest light casts the darkest shadow. Carljung. If you've ever been told you have a powerful presence or a radiant energy, then this message is for you. High vibration souls inspire others with love, wisdom, and positivity. But beneath that light lies a hidden strength, a fierce spiritual force that emerges when you are tested. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we're diving into the dark psychology of high vibration souls, revealing why your kindness shouldn't be mistaken for weakness, and how your shadow can be your greatest protection. Have you ever felt that when someone wrongs you, life has a mysterious way of balancing the scales? Comment below if you've noticed this energy in your own journey, and let's rise into a deeper understanding of who we truly are. 1. Karmic acceleration. Highly vibrational souls walk through life as embodiments of spirituality and spiritual awakening, radiating kindness, compassion, and truth. Yet there is a profound force beneath their calm surface that many underestimate. Carljung once said, "Where there is light, there must also be shadow," and this perfectly reflects the hidden side of those with elevated frequency. They are not naive beings who allow mistreatment. Instead, they are protected by universal laws that respond swiftly when harm is directed toward them. Their energy is pure and aligned with purpose, and because of that, karma listens closely to their experience. Anyone who attacks their peace, manipulates their trust, or tries to diminish their light ends up triggering a rapid karmic consequence that returns their own negativity multiplied. This phenomenon, known as karmic acceleration, is not something they consciously activate. They do not seek revenge, and they do not wish pain upon others. Their hearts are too evolved for that. Instead, they simply allow the universe to handle what the human ego cannot. Their spiritual awakening strengthens the bond between their soul and the natural law of cause and effect. So when someone sends darkness their way, the universe responds immediately, not out of punishment, but out of balance. It is like a spiritual boomerang. The darker the intention thrown at them, the faster and harder it returns to the sender. Some people discover this truth the hard way, wondering why their life suddenly collapses after betraying someone whose energy was rooted in love. A high vibration soul is a catalyst of truth. Their presence exposes hidden motives, peeling away masks people desperately try to wear. Those with pure hearts feel safe around them, while those with deceitful intentions feel discomfort, fear, or irrational anger. This exposure is not caused by anything they do. It is caused by the energy they naturally carry. It is difficult to lie to someone who is aligned with their inner wisdom, who sees through manipulation with ease, who senses emotional shifts instantly. When they walk away from toxicity without causing a scene, that silence is what activates universal intervention. The person who harmed them may think they got away with it. But soon, life begins returning every piece of negativity they projected. Highly vibrational souls are guided by something greater. Their purpose is too important for the universe to allow sabotage. So when someone attempts to block their spiritual growth, drain their energy, or pull them off their path, the universe rapidly removes that person, sometimes through conflict, sometimes through distance, and sometimes through the karmic downfall of the offender. Doors close, opportunities disappear, relationships crumble, and emotional turmoil rises, all as a reflection of the harm they once caused. Karma is not cruel. It is educational. It teaches people to stop exploiting kindness and to stop confusing gentleness with weakness. It teaches them that harming someone aligned with spiritual truth is the same as harming themselves. People often say, "Nothing good happens after I hurt that person." That is because they attacked someone the universe chose to protect. Those who support a high vibration soul rise with them and receive blessings, while those who betray them fall by their own actions. This is the dark psychology of high vibration souls. They do not retaliate with words or violence. They simply continue living in alignment, and that alone dismantles the negativity directed at them. Their light is not soft, it is a sword. Their silence is not weakness, it is divine protection in motion. And their presence is not ordinary, it is a reminder that energy never lies, and the universe always keeps its promises. Do you believe in karmic acceleration? Comment below with faith. I trust the universe's justice. 2. Immunity to energy vampires. High vibration souls possess a unique immunity to energy vampires because your spiritual field is built on truth, inner alignment, and self-respect, making it impossible for negative or manipulative people to drain you the way they drain others. Instead, they are the ones who lose energy in your presence, becoming tired, frustrated, or even disoriented, as if their hidden intentions are exposed under the clarity of your light. You operate from a place of genuine spirituality and spiritual development, not from ego or the need to please others. And because you have learned how to hold your inner power, you no longer allow unhealthy attachments or guilt-based manipulation to penetrate your peace. When someone tries to siphon your joy, they quickly realize that your energy cannot be stolen or controlled because your strength does not come from needing approval, but from knowing who you are and refusing to betray your own soul. Even when an energy vampire approaches you with subtle manipulation, acting like a victim, demanding attention, or creating emotional chaos, their tactics collapse in front of you. Your aura acts like a shield that reflects their darkness back to them. They try to take your light, but instead, they are forced to confront their own shadow. Like Carljung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. When they stand near you, the unconscious becomes visible. And for people who hide behind deception or emotional parasitism, this feels deeply uncomfortable. Your energy becomes a mirror that shows them the emptiness they work so hard to avoid. You do not even need to defend yourself or fight back. Your vibration itself does the work. The higher your consciousness rises, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate or drain you. Because you are committed to spiritual development, you have learned an essential truth. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-harm. You are kind, but you are no longer naive. You give love, but you never abandon your self-worth. You support others, but you refuse to carry their unhealed wounds at the cost of your mental and emotional well-being. This is why energy vampires often disappear from your life without explanation. They cannot survive where they cannot feed. They may even accuse you of being too distant or too strong, but what they truly mean is, I cannot control you anymore. And that realization leaves them powerless. Your presence interrupts their patterns. Your peace disrupts their chaos. Your clarity exposes their manipulation. Your vibration dismantles their control. They leave not because you failed them, but because you awakened them. And awakening is painful for those who cling to darkness. So they retreat, weakened, searching for someone else who will allow them to drain freely. Meanwhile, you remain aligned, protected, and energized because you are plugged into a deeper source. Your purpose, your truth, your spirituality. You shine without trying. You heal without forcing. You stand firm without aggression. And that is why high vibration souls become untouchable in the face of toxic behavior. You have evolved beyond being a battery for someone else's emptiness, and your growth itself becomes your shield. If this message resonates with your soul, share it with someone who needs protection from draining energies. Together, let's help more high vibration spirits stay strong, sovereign, and immune to energy vampires. 3. Shadow reflection. High vibration souls carry a rare kind of light, and that light works like a mirror, revealing truths others try to bury deep inside themselves. When you walk into a room, you do not just brighten the space. You reflect people back to themselves, their ego, their insecurities, their unresolved trauma. This can feel uncomfortable for those who are used to hiding their wounds behind masks. As Carl said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your presence forces what is hidden to rise to the surface. People may admire you at first because they can sense something powerful and pure in you. But admiration can quickly turn into resistance when their shadow is exposed. Without saying a word, you reveal where they feel inadequate, where they lack confidence, and where healing has not yet happened. You become the trigger, not because you harmed them, but because you remind them of what they have tried to forget. It is easier for them to blame you than to face their own truth. They may distance themselves, criticize you, or treat you with coldness, all as a defense against what they feel inside. Your energy becomes a quiet catalyst for transformation. Just by being yourself, you show others the gap between who they are and who they could become. And that gap can feel like a wound. Jung explained, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your presence demands evolution, theirs and yours. Even when they don't understand why they feel jealous, intimidated, or uncomfortable around you, their reaction is a sign that something inside them is shifting. Some will grow because of you. They will thank you for helping them see their shadow and heal what was broken. They will come to appreciate the spiritual wisdom you bring into their lives, the gift of awareness. But others will reject the mirror altogether. They are not ready to confront their pain, so they turn away from the person who reflects it. They see you as a threat, not a blessing, because facing the truth requires courage they have not yet developed. This is why high vibration souls often feel misunderstood or unfairly judged. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to awaken them. Your spiritual awakening intensifies this mirror effect, making you a living reminder that authenticity exists and that excuses are no longer enough. When people react negatively to you, understand what is really happening. They are facing themselves. They are wrestling with their shadow. You do not need to dim your light just to soothe someone else's darkness. Stand tall in your truth, because your energy is not the problem. It is the solution they are not ready for. Even if they do not realize it now, you have planted a seed of transformation. And one day, when they are strong enough to look into the mirror again, they will finally understand the gift you were all along. 4. Detection of deception. High vibration souls possess a unique form of perception that goes far beyond what the eyes can see. Their spirituality sharpens the senses in a way that feels almost supernatural to others. They detect deception instantly, as if their intuition has already decoded the truth before a lie is even spoken. Their energy is aligned with honesty, so whenever someone tries to hide their motives or twist the truth, that misalignment becomes loud and unmistakable to them. This is not imagination. It is a heightened instinct born from spiritual awakening, a deep attunement to the subtle vibrations behind words, actions, and intentions. People who operate from deceit feel nervous around them. Their heartbeat shifts, their voice changes, their eyes look away, and high vibration souls notice every detail without trying. They sense the tension between what someone says and what their spirit is actually communicating. And it is this inner alarm system, this spiritual radar, that protects them from manipulation and betrayal. Carljung emphasized that the unconscious always leaks through, and high vibration souls are the ones who can read those leaks effortlessly. They watch the tiny inconsistencies others overlook, the forced laugh, the delayed response, the overly polished story. Every small sign exposes the larger lie beneath. Dishonest people instinctively feel threatened in their presence. It is as if their masks begin to crack the moment they stand close. They feel exposed because high vibration souls are mirrors, reflecting truth so clearly that lies struggle to survive. These intuitive individuals don't even need to confront the deception. Their silence alone becomes pressure, a force that pushes hidden intentions into the light. And those with dark agendas hate that feeling. They call these spiritually awakened individuals too sensitive, too suspicious, or overthinking, just to invalidate the intuition that scares them. Yet this ability does not come from arrogance. It comes from experience, painful experience. High vibration souls have been lied to, used, betrayed, manipulated, and left to heal in silence. And instead of allowing these wounds to harden their heart, they allowed them to awaken the spirit. Their energy became fine-tuned to patterns of deception so that the same harm would never be repeated. Every lie they once believed became a lesson. Every betrayal they survived became wisdom. Their empathy matured into spiritual intelligence. Authenticity rises naturally around them because their energy encourages honesty. When someone has pure intentions, they feel safe, seen, and understood in the presence of a high vibration soul. But when someone's words and spirit are not aligned, that same presence becomes uncomfortable, almost unbearable. It's not because the high vibration soul is judging them. It is because their light forces the truth to surface. People either align with that light or run from it. This is the dark psychology of a high vibration soul. They do not expose lies with aggression, revenge, or loud confrontations. They expose lies simply by being who they are. Their spirituality becomes a shield. Their spiritual awakening becomes a weapon of truth. And anyone who tries to deceive them will eventually reveal themselves out of fear, guilt, or the pressure of facing someone who cannot be fooled. If this insight resonates with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss content that protects your energy and sharpens your intuition. Comment below. My intuition sees the truth. 5. Powerful influence. You may not always see it, but your presence alone has the power to shift the entire atmosphere of a room. And within spirituality and spiritual development, this influence becomes undeniable. When a high vibration soul like you walks in, the energy rises, standards elevate, and suddenly masks start to fall away. You don't even have to speak. Your authenticity exposes hidden intentions and reveals who people truly are beneath their practice roles, because your energy demands honesty. Carljung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this pain often shows up when others are forced to confront the parts of themselves they have buried. Some people feel inspired in your presence, admiring your strength, your inner clarity, and the peace you radiate with such ease. But others, the ones still afraid to grow, feel threatened the moment your light reveals the shadows they refuse to face. They do not understand how you maintain integrity while the world pushes everyone else toward pretense. They do not understand why you refuse to shrink or settle. So instead of asking themselves how they can rise higher, they look for ways to dim your shine. Jealousy becomes a shield, gossip becomes their language, and resistance becomes their only form of self-protection. They aren't angry at you. They are angry at the version of themselves that never dared to evolve. And that is the dark psychology of being a high vibration soul. Your presence is both a blessing and a disruption, because you are a mirror that reflects the truth people avoid. You force them to see what they could become if they chose courage over comfort. Yet, do not forget that you are also a powerful catalyst for transformation. The ones who are ready to awaken cannot help but be drawn to you, as if your energy calls their potential forward. Even in silence, you empower others to rise. Without preaching a single lesson, you awaken something sleeping inside them. But that very awakening demands a choice. Either they grow with you, or they cling to their old patterns. And that choice reveals exactly who is aligned with your journey and who fears the responsibility of real spiritual development. So continue to embrace who you are without apology. Your influence is not accidental. It is a divine gift. You were not designed to be small or invisible so others could remain comfortable in their stagnation. You are here to elevate every space you touch, to disrupt what is false, and to expand what is possible. Let people admire you or resent you. It makes no difference. Both reactions confirm your impact. Keep shining boldly. Keep raising the energy. Keep showing others what real growth looks like simply by existing as your truest self. Because light does not wait for permission. It transforms everything the moment it arrives. 6. Ruthless boundary cutting. High vibration souls are often seen as soft-hearted and endlessly forgiving, but those perceptions barely scratch the surface of their true inner strength. Their greatest psychological armor is their ability to cut off anyone who repeatedly disrespects their spirit. When someone crosses a line too many times, when manipulation continues behind smiles, or when kindness is met with exploitation, they do not argue, they do not beg, and they do not seek validation. They disconnect with decisive and permanent finality. Many misunderstand this as coldness, yet it is one of the highest forms of self-respect. As Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and high-vibration souls have accepted that protecting their peace is their sacred duty. They know that spiritual wisdom requires boundaries, not because love disappears, but because love for themselves must come first. This boundary cutting feels ruthless to those who expected endless access to their empathy. People who once benefited from their patience often experience shock when the door slams shut and never opens again. It is in that moment that everyone realizes how powerful a high-vibration soul truly is. The same open heart that once embraced others without judgment can also become a steel barrier when needed. They do not announce their departure or explain their silence, because genuine spiritual awakening makes them understand that energy speaks louder than words. When a pattern of disrespect reveals itself, they choose clarity over chaos, peace over attachment, and inner freedom over emotional chains. They refuse to let guilt or fear keep them in situations that drain their spiritual light. The truth is simple. Detaching completely is sometimes the only path to survival. High-vibration individuals feel deeply, and that emotional sensitivity is not weakness. It is their superpower. But a superpower is also a responsibility. They have learned through pain that not everyone deserves access to their energy. Some people only take, only drain, only consume. And for an awakened soul, allowing that to continue would be self-betrayal. They can forgive someone 100 times, but the 101st betrayal becomes the turning point where their heart transforms from unconditional support to unbreakable boundaries. When they walk away, they stay gone. No more chances. No more explanations. No more rescuing someone who refuses to rescue themselves. Their silence becomes the loudest lesson. Spiritual wisdom teaches that your soul must be your top priority. That is why high-vibration souls do not fear solitude. They fear losing themselves. Cutting ties is not cruelty. It is sacred protection. People who say, "You've changed," are often the same people who benefited from the old version of you. But growth demands evolution. Jung taught that what you resist persists. High-vibration individuals no longer resist their inner truth. They embrace it fully, even when it requires saying goodbye to those they once loved. Their absence becomes a mirror that forces others to confront their own behavior, their own shadows, their own failure to appreciate what they had. This form of boundary cutting is not revenge. It is closure. It is spiritual awakening in action. It is the bold declaration, "My peace is non-negotiable." When they choose themselves, the universe honors that choice. New relationships appear, ones built on mutual respect, emotional reciprocity, and aligned values. Their life elevates because their standards elevate. People who once underestimated them finally understand that kindness does not mean weakness, and love without limits is not love, it is sacrifice. High-vibration souls stop sacrificing themselves. They rise. If this truth resonates with you, let it be your declaration of power. Comment below, "My boundaries protect my peace," to honor your strength and inspire others to do the same. 7. Illuminating vulnerabilities. High-vibration souls carry a presence that is not merely seen, but deeply felt. And this presence becomes a living mirror that exposes the hidden internal world of others, revealing the wounds they try to suppress and the defense mechanisms they use to protect those wounds from being seen. Because when you embody true spirituality and spiritual awakening, your energy naturally creates contrast, making the unresolved pain in others impossible for them to ignore. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And this wisdom explains why the light of a spiritually awakened person often triggers discomfort rather than admiration, as their existence silently asks others, "Why are you still pretending?" Their energy reflects exactly what someone does not want to see: insecurity, jealousy, attachment, fear, and unhealed trauma. Yet this illumination is not meant to wound. It is meant to awaken, acting as a catalyst that encourages growth, truth, and inner healing. However, transformation is a choice, and not everyone is ready to confront their darkness. So while some feel inspired and drawn toward the awakened energy, others respond with resistance, judgment, or hostility because their ego interprets exposure as a threat rather than an opportunity. It is like placing a bright light in a dark room. The moment truth enters, every hidden corner becomes visible, and the person must choose either to start cleaning the mess or to turn off the light and attack the source of illumination. High vibration souls unknowingly become the light switch in the lives of others, and this can lead to two very different outcomes. People who are ready for spiritual awakening feel understood, supported, and encouraged to rise into a higher version of themselves, as if the mere presence of this soul gives them permission to heal. But those who are not ready often react with emotional defensiveness, pushing away the very person whose energy could heal their inner chaos, because facing themselves would require accountability, vulnerability, and change three things the ego fears most. This is why high vibration souls attract complicated reactions. They expose the gap between who someone pretends to be and who they truly are inside, a gap many avoid acknowledging for years. Some will project blame onto the awakened soul, claiming, "You make me feel insecure," when the truth is that their soul is finally being confronted with what it has avoided. Others may attempt to diminish or sabotage the awakened individual to silence that uncomfortable reflection. The irony is that these reactions are not personal. They are psychological protection as the shadow fights to stay hidden. Jung reminds us that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And high vibration souls embody that exact process simply by existing. Their power is not loud, aggressive, or forceful. It is subtle yet undeniable. They carry truth, and truth always disrupts illusion. They carry healing, and healing always disturbs the wound before it repairs it. They carry love, and love always confronts fear before it dissolves it. So while their presence may activate discomfort, that discomfort is the first step toward liberation. Those who choose growth will evolve because of them, and those who refuse will be triggered by them, proving that their light is not only something beautiful, it is something transformative, disruptive, and spiritually necessary. High vibration souls do not expose darkness to shame others, but to remind them that they too have light waiting to rise. 8. Catalysts for unwanted change. High vibration souls are catalysts for change, not because they try to change others, but simply because their presence exposes what has been ignored for too long. When you show up aligned with truth, authenticity, and inner peace, you shine a light on everything around you that is not aligned. And this creates an internal pressure in others that pushes them towards self-realignment. Many will initially resist this spiritual awakening because comfort is familiar, even when it harms them, while growth demands that they confront their fears, insecurities, and hidden truths. Yet your energy makes denial impossible. As Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And still, your vibration leaves them no place to hide. Those who encounter you begin to sense a silent invitation to rise higher. Excuses lose power. Patterns that once felt acceptable become unbearable. Their spirit recognizes that standing next to someone committed to their spiritual development means they can no longer pretend they are not capable of more. Some will feel threatened and respond with jealousy, projection, or distance. Others will feel inspired and respond with self-reflection, effort, and change. Either way, they evolve, because staying the same becomes too painful in the presence of someone who is already becoming the most aligned version of themselves. Your life demonstrates another possibility, one where truth is chosen over illusions, responsibility over blame, purpose over drifting. As they watch you embody strength rooted in spirituality rather than ego, they begin to question where they have betrayed their own growth. You awaken hunger for healing, for clarity, for a life that reflects the soul rather than fear. Even if they never say it out loud, they know your energy pushed them forward. They know that your light showed them the path they were avoiding. They know that you became the mirror that forced honesty and the catalyst their transformation needed. Some will walk away when the pressure to grow feels overwhelming, not because you did something wrong, but because evolution requires courage, and not everyone is ready. The ones who stay because their soul has chosen progress. High vibration souls disrupt stagnation, remove illusions, and elevate the standards of every room they enter. You do not demand change. You simply make change unavoidable. If you find this content touching your heart, please consider becoming a member to receive more in-depth lessons and direct support from me. Even the brightest souls carry a powerful shadow, not as a weakness, but as a reminder that true light is born from balance. Your high vibration is not just about love and peace, but also about strength, boundaries, and spiritual justice. So embrace every part of who you are, because your energy is far more formidable than most people realize. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to leave a like, share this video with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Also, turn on the notification bell so you never miss the profound insights we have coming next. Thank you for watching. Keep rising and keep protecting your light.